What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, ready to talk some football with Tazim Wajed. Did I destroy that? I
No,
killed that name, right?
that's it. That's
I
it.
got it. All right. Well,
Great
I'm just
job.
gonna call you. I'm just gonna call you the Hitman because I'll
Hey,
know I'll
that'll
butcher
work.
it every time I try to say it. So I can't thank you enough, man, for taking some time talking with me, talking some ball. I did want to let people know just a little bit about yourself. The fact that obviously I think most people understand and know that your son plays for the Green Bay Packers, but you yourself were a Green Bay Packer. I appreciated your picture on Twitter of the Packers locker room back in the 90s and how things have changed significantly since your time with the team.
Yeah, I think they've spent a little bit of money, just a little bit.
just just a tad. I remember that project when Mike Sherman was the one who designed it initially when they
Mhm.
were making kind of the changeover in 2003. But yeah, that things are a little different. What do you just real quick before we dive into all of this week's news? I did want to
Mhm.
kind of touch base on your background and the fact that you have been around ball for a long time. Uh, what has been your path? What I know, like I said, you were in Green Bay for a hot minute, and
Mhm.
you've played ball quite a bit in your life. Can you tell people a little bit about your football background?
Well, I think probably the most interesting or the unique pieces of it is just looking at the journey from high school to the NFL and the somewhat scenic path that I took to get there.
Right.
Uh, I was in 1988 uh, from I'm from a small town in middle Georgia called Peach County, Fort Valley. Very much known for some nice football players. I mean,
Right.
we've had quite a few come out of there. Pete Johnson was the first running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think most Steelers fans are familiar with Greg Lloyd,
Oh yeah.
and we since those two, we've had now I think we're at 13 total uh, players from a town of about 8,500
Oh
who
wow.
have gone on and played in the NFL. But relative to my journey, I was a pretty highly sought uh, recruit coming out of high school on both academically as well as athletically. I had the Ivy Leagues on the academic side, and obviously I grew up right there in SEC country,
Right.
a country boy, and pretty much a bulldog from the time I was born. I didn't even think about anywhere else. Well, to jump though to kind of long story, not so long. Uh, about a week before signing day, here, like I said, I did, I took my visits. I did the Big Ten trips and of course the SEC, and
Mm.
you just enjoy the being recruited. It is exactly what you all think it is. It's crazy.
Right.
So yeah, if you watch some of the
Right.
movies, yes,
Sure. Yep.
that's
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 it,
what
right?
happens. So, but anyway, so about a week before signing day, a cousin of mine, she tells me that my uncle, he was a retired coach, worked a long time in HBCUs, well respected in the HBCU world.
Mm.
He actually had a little bit of time at Howard University, known as the Mecca of HBCUs. Not so much in football, but in academics and in the business world and in law and in medicine. So he asked me, she asked me if I ever considered going to an HBCU. No, I didn't.
Mm.
I never considered, and if I would lend my ear to Uncle Al. Well, after about a 4 hour conversation that night, Uncle Al changed my view on how I needed to make that decision. It was no longer a 4 year decision, it was a 40-year decision.
Mm.
And We'll have to kind of get into the details probably at another time so that we can get into the meat of what we want to talk about today. But
Sure.
Basically, in a matter of days, I changed from signing with University of Georgia to signing with Howard University.
Wow.
Now, what that did was kind of change where I was basing my faith, I guess you would say. So it was, I guess I was going with the faith of the shoulders up rather than the athlete. Although I was certainly going there to play football, I was going there to, be more than that. At the end of an All-American, academic All-American, pretty much every award you would think of a high-level top 100 in the nation recruit who goes to play at an HBCU would do, I did.
Right.
It was almost unfair at times, but at the end of it, though, it still was Howard University, and my route to the NFL was a little bit different than most. I did not get invited to the combine, didn't get invited to the Senior Bowl. The bowl I got invited to, All-American Bowl.
I was going to say Liberty Bowl wasn't even around then.
No.
Right.
So ended up kind of taking a long route to the draft. I finally had my agents made enough calls that we got some teams to come in the week after the draft and work me out. I share a story in the draft guide, actually, exactly who those teams were and who the people were. But nice. To make a long story short, you all have seen Christian's athleticism. I'll put it to you this way: it came from somewhere. So I literally lit it up, and from that point, it changed everything about my draft process. I worked out for teams at least twice a week from that moment all the way up to the week prior to the draft.
Wow.
I was either working out for someone or traveling to a team to visit and let them, I guess, look further into me. I end up getting drafted by Green Bay in the 6th round, pick number 156, which is amazing that today that pick is almost at the top of the 5th round.
Right.
But so I end up getting picked in the 6th round, and with that started obviously my journey into the NFL. Thank Ron Wolf, who called me probably the best tackler in the draft. I was coming there to replace Chuck Cecil, and unfortunately, it just kind of goes to show you, that it's a little different when you have top 50 draft capital invested in you as opposed to being picked 156. I did come in. I did pretty well in training camp, but I don't know if you remember that game. It used to be called the green and gold game. Now, I guess they call it it's family night. Yeah, it's the scrimmage. So anyway,
now it's not even a scrimmage; it's just a practice. But that's what it's evolved into. Right.
It was literally back then. It was a game. Like we split the team in half, and we played a game, inter squad game. I mean, so I ended up in that game, unfortunately, getting the same avulsion fracture that Magic got, the thing that started Brett Favre's career. I got that fracture. It kept me out in my ankle, kept me out about pretty much the rest of training camp. And I was a 6th round draft pick. So of course, Green Bay figured no way anyone would claim him if we cut him and put him on the practice squad so we can get him ready to play. Well, they thought wrong. I was actually claimed by 19 teams. And
holy
you have
cow.
to go to the worst team.
Right.
The reason why I'm telling all of this part of the story is because if you want to talk about one of the craziest journeys to getting where I was going to be in my NFL career, I thought I was claimed. I didn't. New England thought they had me So they flew me. They have to fly. If they claim you, they have to fly you first class. They fly me first class to New England. I get to New England. They actually, before I get on the board the plane, they told me don't eat because you have to take a physical when you get here.
Right.
Don't eat anything. So I don't eat anything. This is like 3:00 in the morning. So I head to the airport. I leave, get to New England. I take my physical. I have my locker, get all of my equipment, pick out my number, meet the coaches, get ready to go to practice. Tagliabue calls. That's obviously the commissioner at that time. Tagliabue's office calls. Oh, no, you all didn't actually get the claim. It's actually Cleveland.
Stop.
So I have to head to the airport. I'm heading to the airport to fly from New England to Cleveland. I'm no longer a New England Patriot. I'm a Cleveland Brown. I have to fly from New England to Cleveland. In the airport, I get a call. I didn't have a cell phone. It was a different day and time, right?
Pre-cell phone.
They literally called the desk to call me over. It's my agent on the phone. He tells me Cleveland said, "Don't eat. You have to take a physical."
So you're like starving at this point.
When you
Good
get
Lord.
there, now mind you, we're talking about training camp time. Do you know what kind of nutrition we need?
Right.
In a young, nothing but muscles body. I was probably 2% body fat. Like I'm literally, my body's probably eating away at itself at this point.
Right.
So I don't eat. I get there, same thing. Go in, take the physical, and finally, I'm done in the middle of the night. Like I leave the hospital where the physical was given, and they, whatever the medical facility, take me back to my hotel at like 3 a.m. And they just get me not even real food, like just something to eat. Practice it in the morning. Now, at this point, Aaron, my body has said nope. I got all kinds of enzymes and stuff doing things to my body that you can't even think of. But when I get there, just so you understand how Bill Belichick and Nick Saban work.
Oh boy.
They don't care about your
none of that.
Your stomach ache or any of that stuff. I get there, get dressed, go to practice. They won't even let me go out with the rest of the team. They want to make sure that the ankle is fine and all that stuff. Now, I'm like, you claim me already.
Right.
So it was Mangini. I think Mangini was the DB coach who took me and just took me through like an hour straight of DB drills. I had, breaking out, that, out and up, the star drill, like literally, I was exhausted, like literally about to fall out. And at the end of that, I'm done. My enzymes are messed up. I'm hospitalized.
Oh man. I mean, I'm not surprised. I can't say that's a shock.
I'm hospitalized. And of course, so now they need to make a decision because the next day is cut down to what was then, I think, 46. It wasn't 53 then. I think it was 46. Yep. So they got to make a decision. Well, back then, if they put you on injured reserve, you have to stay for the whole year.
Yep.
Right? Well, they make the decision to ask me if I will go on injured reserve, and they'll pay me my full salary. So they weren't going to go to paragraph. I forgot what I don't even remember. It's called paragraph 6 or something like that salary, which is your second level salary. They said they won't do that. They will pay me my full salary. Problem with that is you don't get to play and you don't get a vested season.
Yeah, vest. Right.
Look, my agent said no, we're not going to do that because he's not injured. Like you all sent me to the hospital with. I literally had to stay in the hospital, Aaron, for 3 days.
That's
That's how they messed up my system. But so in comes Tagliabue again. He says, y'all have a decision. Y'all can either put him on a 46 or let him be a free agent. He can sign wherever he wants. So they again put me on the. They said, okay, well we'll let him. We'll release him. Let him sign wherever he wants. And here comes, I get a call from Green Bay and Kansas City.
Right.
So the call is not just from the scouting department, though. This is Ray Rhodes.
Oh, wow.
And Ray told me, he was like, man, I just thought I needed some time to get you ready. He said, I had no idea that you were going to be claimed like that. He said, will you come back? Will you come back and play for me? I was like, oh, like on what? Like, what are you talking about? The 53 or make me 46?
46.
The regular roster.
Practice squad. What are we doing?
He said, we're going to put you on the regular roster. He said, but you still got to get ready. He said, but what we want to do is let everybody else set their roster. Then we'll put you on practice squad.
Right.
We'll cut, let everybody else get set.
Right.
Then cut you, put you on practice squad, and see how you let you get ready. Okay. Because I was familiar with Green Bay. I knew the system and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
So I do that. They make the cut. Well, Kansas City calls.
Oh man, you're like
and
a pinata.
The offer was too good to be true, too good to pass up, I should say.
Right.
And that's how I ended up 4 years in Kansas City. Unfortunately, though, my second year, I go through my first year, great first season in terms of getting there, I was just a special teams ace. I mean, if you can imagine a 215, 220 pound guy who runs a 4.4 as a gunner, and you're trying to
mess
stop
people
him
up. Yep.
It's just not going to happen, right?
That's a weapon right there. That's a weapon. Yeah. That's what that is.
And of course, I was number one on the kickoff team, so it counts from inside out.
Yep.
So I was that guy who ran straight down the middle and blew up the wedge.
There were wedges back there. No,
right.
They don't do wedges anymore.
And
that was legit.
You could blow them up. But
that's great.
So it went great my first season. At the end of that year, I had the exit meeting with Marty Schottenheimer, and when I tell you, it was one of the best meetings I've ever had, getting from a coach what they viewed me to be in this league. And really, long story short, he told me point blank, I was a strong safety. I was gonna be a strong safety. He's like, go ahead and find your house, get whatever you need to get settled. I don't want you thinking about worrying about making a team, blah blah blah. It's time to go. We go forward. We literally only had 3 safety. We drafted one to be who was supposed to be my backup. We drafted one. We go through offseason. I mean, I was the star. I was the star of the offseason, Aaron. I picked off Joe probably 4 times in OTAs. I mean, it was crazy. It was looking like the dream is coming true. We go through training camp, same thing. I'm tearing it up. Get to week 1, New Orleans.
Ugh.
Now, special teams coach is Marty's brother. Kurt comes to me, says, "Hey man, you want to run down and blow up the wedge for me, to get the season started?" I was like, "Yeah, oh hell yeah,
let's go, man, let's go." I
run out there. Marty sees me and is like, "Tim," and he like, "Hell no!" He's yelling.
Right,
Aaron. This is one of the times in life where, how you tell kids don't be hard-headed? I should have turned my ass back around and got off that field.
Right.
It changed the whole rest of my career.
That's crazy, man.
I run down there, get blindsided, tear my knee up.
Ugh.
I mean, just completely destroyed my knee, changed my entire career. For the rest of my career, I was a journeyman. Like literally, when I was out there getting ready to start my first game in the NFL, my agent was negotiating with Kansas City to, like, you don't have to negotiate with an exclusive rights
right. He's yours.
player. They don't have to. But they were like, we want to go ahead and get this done. So, wasn't no salary cap. It was none of that. It was like, we just want him happy. They offered $1 million up front, $1 million for a 6th-round draft pick who had just gotten cut by the team that drafted him. And my agent was like, nah, we need more than that. After that happened, though, as you kind of imagine, I played on vet minimum.
Sure, yeah, of course. Oh, that's an insane journey. But I love that you can kind of recount everything and give people a kind of glimpse behind the curtain, so to speak, because it's the kind of thing that I know fans take for granted when it comes to every guy that they're watching on the football field Sunday afternoon, having some beers with their friends, whatever. They watch the game, they complain, they cheer, whatever, they turn it off. Meanwhile, every guy on the field maybe doesn't have that journey, but has a journey and has like stuff that they've overcome or fought through or had to deal with that we never see, we never hear about. You know what I mean? So, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you like just giving us the kind of the background there, because it's easy in this day and age when we're hyper connected on the internet and on Twitter in particular, and we kind of like see one facet of a person, right? And to see and to hear the insights there and the history is, I can't tell you, man, I really appreciate it. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk to you, right? Like you've got time in on the NFL, right? Now your son's in the NFL and you know the game, you know ball, and you know this team, you know the Packers now, having been around them a couple years. And I did want to ask you a few things about, what we've kind of witnessed here over the course of the last couple days, as far as the Packers starting 2024, the new league year, off with a pretty significant bang. I'll start with this. How surprised were you? I mean, I guess, the cold, hard nature of the business is nothing new to you, but the Aaron Jones release, I got to admit, I thought, there was a very, very minimal possibility, but it sure felt like, especially now that we've kind of read some of the reporting around it, like the Packers were ready to move on. Like that's kind of how I view it. I don't know. I wanted to get your kind of view on it.
I'm still processing, I guess, the intent, I guess you would say.
Right.
What were they really intending to happen? To me, it almost seems like he had to agree to a certain number if he was going to stay. But you and I and everyone knows a running back who will turn 30 this calendar year, although it would have been towards the end of the season, it is not going to get $10 million in the NFL. I mean, that's just not happening. So, well, what is the number? To me, I thought the number was maybe somewhere between 4 and 6, and he got 7 from Minnesota.
Right.
So,
I mean, some of that's incentives, though. I mean, it's not a strict 7, So this is my thing. Like the Packers clearly thought, okay, here's where your market value is. And they're kind of proven correct, right? With Aaron accepting this deal. My thing is, though, obviously Aaron feels disrespected. I don't think there's any question there. I can't wait to hear him talk whenever he's introduced with the Vikings. But you got to think the Packers knew he was never going to take that pay cut. And that's why I talk about, like, you ask about the intention. I think they were just like, okay, we're ready to move on, especially after all the time Aaron missed last year. to me, they made that offer knowing that he was going to put it down.
I think that's the other side of it. When I say, I'm processing it, because the other side of it is just the reality of, they said it's time. Okay, why did they say it's time? Well, look at the receiver room. Look at the tight end room.
Right.
Look at the quarterback. Look at, if you want to be real, look at the offensive line. We have 2 tackles who people did not think could play. And let me tell you why I say that. The earliest one, Tom, was drafted in what, the 4th round?
4th round, yep.
There is no way anybody is going to come and tell us today that you knew that Zach Tom
was going to be lights out
was
at right
what
tackle.
he is. This dude might be the best right tackle in football. He's certainly
in the convo. Yes.
He's certainly heading in that direction if he's not already.
Right.
And because what we're talking about is your complete game. And he has gone out there and said, this position right here is mine. Now, on the other side, here we had a guy who the only reason he even was on the field is because Bach was only able to play 1 game.
Yeah.
So from there, you go to Yosh, right? And he kind of was he's always been, he's not who they
hoped he'd
feel.
Be. Yeah, that is
right.
Sure.
Is again doing like Tom did.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes in, and again, what was she? The
7th round pick.
7. Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
I mean, he went from playing 4 special team snaps last season to being their starting left tackle down the stretch.
And look, watch him play. I mean, we can critique things on anybody, right?
Right.
But you watch that guy play. I mean, how could you not be excited about the next step and then the next step?
Again, especially against some of the top flight competition too, right? I mean, the fact that, to your point, there's plenty to work on, right? No one's saying he's arrived. Mm-hmm. But man, you throw on some of those reps against Bosa in that playoff game, and you're like, damn, this kid can play. I don't think he can anchor, but he can play.
And that's one of the things, right? Because the big guy, his thing is always going to be his wingspan to make the guy run the loop. So the more you can make him run the loop, that doesn't mean you're good. It means you're huge.
Yeah.
you have
and effective.
Wingspan.
And effective. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So and effective. Like it's an effective way. But if you can't anchor, they're gonna get you.
They're gonna run.
They're gonna get you.
Yeah.
They're gonna set you up and then literally throw you on the quarterback.
Exactly.
and again, so if we just look at all of those spots and you say, what direction are we heading? Well, shit, we were 1 game away.
Yeah.
From the NFC championship, really 2 plays away. We were 2 plays away.
Agreed.
From the NFC championship game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, man, look at here. With the youngest team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you going to now say, what is our window? What can we do with this team? They had to make a decision on what are the pieces that are going to move forward with this group. And what was Aaron's window? Maybe a year or 2?
A year at the most, I would think. I mean, that's the other thing, right? With the contract being what it was, they weren't going to extend him.
Right.
He's like you said, he's hitting 30 this year. He just cannot stay on the field. And look, I love Aaron Jones, man. And look how effective and productive he was down the stretch last year. You can't deny how good he is when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, you look at this team and how effective they were and how much they grew just over one season as a collective on offense with all those young parts. Man, they got Josh Jacobs, who's a stud, right?
Right.
Now all they got to do is go into the draft, probably find another back or two, and they're on their way
Right.
offensively.
Right. I mean,
I'm excited.
it's hard to. Again, I really liked Aaron the man and
Yes.
Aaron the player, and that makes the emotions kind of churn a little more than
Right.
than just But at the same time, Aaron, I understand this business at a much different level
Mm-hmm.
than most, and the ways in which I've been cut, for people to get emotional, I can give the empathy of who Aaron is, right?
Right.
But him being cut, this is the business of the NFL. Like, so the same thing as a fan that you want, you're not allowing the people who know what they're doing to do what they need to do to get you that. We've won one Super Bowl this century.
Hey, that's more than the Bears. I'll take it.
Exactly, but
I mean, it's so clear they're trying to reset, right? It's a
Right.
reset and trying to reopen a window where they can make these hopefully multiple runs with Jordan Love as their QB.
Right.
And look, I think the offense is in a good spot. We're really excited about everything we saw last year. The real question mark for me, and it's obviously, kind of been in the shadow lately because of the moves in free agency. The Aaron Jones narrative is so dominant. But man, it still comes back to the defense for me. And I'm talking to a former defensive player, so I got to ask you, what do you see with Jeff Hafley and this defense as far as what to expect? What differences? What do you see maybe changing? I know we've heard a lot from the coach and the GM about play style, which I always kind of find interesting because it's like, well, you've been talking play style since you got in the building, but the play style has continued to be the same on defense, no matter who the coordinator is.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, Matt LaFleur has to kind of put his foot down, I think, and tell Hafley, like, I want 11 guys after the ball every play. Because he talks about like turning on the Texans tape and how, ferocious they look and how they get after it. And I'm like, well, yeah, doesn't that start with you? So
Right.
I'm just curious, is your kind of looking now, we're a ways out, obviously, a long way to go as far as roster construction goes. But with Hafley and his, background as a defensive backs guy and the way they went out and got McKinney, who's a really good player. They got Jair, who's a really good player. What do you see as, some of the key differences under Hafley rather than the stuff we saw under Barry?
Passive, aggressive. It only takes two words to define the difference. I mean, Barry's defense was too passive.
Yes, sir.
And the defense philosophy and style that Hafley has is aggressive. So, number one, just off of the philosophy in how you line up and how you read, what are your first steps? One was a count of 1001 before you even did anything.
Right.
This one
a lot of reacting. Yeah.
This one is make them do something. Make the offense. We're in your face on the corners. The linemen, we're one gapping. You have got to make a decision as an offense against this defense. Whereas our defense before had to take reads and make a decision based upon what the offense was doing. And at that point, if it was 3rd and 4, we're 5 yards back.
Oh, God, don't remind me.
First down. So they do that all the way down the field until they make a mistake. That's not solid football in the NFL, because the fact of the matter is an NFL team that's the top of football. That's as good as it gets. So
Right.
if you get the right pieces, you get a route runner, you get a field stretcher, you get a big tight end who gives the mismatch, you get an accurate quarterback, you can nickel and dime them all the way down the field.
Yes,
You
sir.
literally never have to hit a big play. You can nickel and dime all the way down the field against the defense we had. Now, flip to Hafley. What Hafley is telling you is you could hit us on a big play. You could. That's what you're going to need if you're going to consistently beat us. You're going to have to hit a big play. But that's what makes who is the eraser so important. You can't just have anybody at the eraser, the free safety. That can't just be a guy.
A guy, right?
It can't just be a guy. If this fan base wants to understand, because I heard some people say that that's a little high, like you overpaid.
Nope.
Okay. let's the best descriptor I can give for that position on this defense is we say quarterback of the defense. Quarterback of the defense. That's who this is in this defense. There is another one that we don't have yet at the mic, but the mic actually has the eraser. The eraser has nobody. The eraser is it. So if you don't get a top line guy there, which McKinney was literally the top guy last year,
no doubt,
along with Winfield. Winfield wasn't available.
Yeah.
But if you take the last 4 years, and it's interesting because people are so busy with stats that they don't look at the whole picture. What happens when they tried McKinney over the last 4 years? They have not succeeded trying McKinney at free safety. Let me reverse the way I say it. They have had the least amount of success trying McKinney at free safety than any other free safety in the National Football League. How is that not who you want?
That is 100% who you want.
That's got to be.
And I love, and the overpay thing is so silly because it's like, A, you're getting out ahead of the market because you're signing him to a 4-year deal. In 2 years, it's going to be completely different as far as where it falls in the landscape. Right. And the other thing is of course the Giants wanted to keep him. Like they don't just let 24-year-old ascending players walk out the door. You know, they wanted to keep him, but the Packers made it impossible for them to keep him because they blew him out of the water financially. That's what that's the free agency landscape. That's how it works. I'm glad you brought up the need for a mic too, because I know you and I a couple weeks ago we talked about Quay Walker and how he is not a mic, right? But I will say I am thrilled to get to watch him play the weak side backer in this style 4-3, the stuff they're going to be doing. They got to find that mic. There's no doubt about it. But I think you agree here. I think Quay is set to become a star. I really do.
Quay would probably already be an all-pro if we take that what the communicator
green dot. Yeah.
We take that out of his helmet. We need a mic. We need somebody. Yeah. Obviously, Campbell would have been, but he couldn't stay on the field with them. But if we, first of all, that was also a passive defense. But so let's get an aggressive defense, have Quay in it, not being the communicator,
worrying about any of that. Yeah,
agreed. And have him coming this way. Quay would be unstoppable as an outside linebacker in this
in the 4-3. Yeah, I agree.
He'd be a nightmare. They're going to be running backs who are going to say, let's slide this protection this way.
Yeah.
Because he's going to know that Quay's about to blitz or
Come and destroy
coming.
him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited for it. I'm so excited for it. I really
Mhm.
think he's going to be something special in this scheme. Everything they're going to ask him to do. Tazim, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been awesome. Would love to have you back next week if you're around, if you got the time.
Yeah.
Really loved hearing about your background. Love talking ball with you. Thank you so much for the time, man.
Absolutely, man. Look, we'll keep it going. We'll get a weekly schedule and talk, chop it up.
All right. I love it, man. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take it easy.
Yep. Have a good one.